All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Market Mondays.
Happy Monday, y'all.
Your screen is not deceiving you. We have a special guest host with us today. 19 Keys is in the building. What's up, my brother?
Man, it feels good to be back.
For sure.
Hold on. Let me start this off right.
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah. Don't do us any disservice, man. We need it all.
Me.
The last time you appeared, you had a cape on, so I'm
I just want to make sure I'm in full flyness. You feel me? Every single time when I step in front of your delightful audience.
That's a fact, man. So, education at the flyest level.
So for everybody that's wondering, Ian is being affected by the power blackout that's happening in Houston right now. So first and foremost, prayers to everybody in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
They are having a power outage from a hurricane, I believe, that have hit Houston, and power's been down since 6 o'clock in the morning out there. So he's going to try to call in. Yes. I don't think we're going to be able to get visuals on Ian today, but he's going to try to call in, and hopefully we could hear him. But like I said, safety to everybody out there in Houston, greater Houston area affected by the power outage and the hurricane. So that is why you don't see Ian. But like I said, we're trying to get him right.
Yeah, and condolences to, I know it went through the Caribbean islands. So condolences to anybody that's lost their lives or lost their families' lives or lost homes. It started as a Category 5, and then at the start of the week, last week, everything it's going to hit Jamaica. It's going to hit Jamaica. So, I mean, thankfully, it did not hit Jamaica direct. I know there was some high winds and some high tides, but the worst of the hurricane passed. And so, yeah, power outage is happening right now. So, again, condolences to anybody that's affected by it. It's a crazy time, but it's that time of year.
For sure. So, yeah, so the good brother 19 Keys stepped in and was gracious enough to be the guest host today. So we're gonna have a high level conversation on Market Mondays. But first, I'll just run through some announcements. Big shout out to everybody that participated in the challenge, the raffle that we had for Invest Fest. We'll be naming the winners very shortly. Big episode of Earn Your Leisure this week. Make sure you check it out tomorrow. And then, of course, Blackout. We're back with Blackout on Wednesday. We got a special guest, my brother DC Young Fly from 85 South. The legend himself will be on Blackout with us. So tap in, and of course, get your tickets to Invest Fest, man. It only gets bigger. We got a big announcement. I'll wait. I don't feel like it's the right setting. We're gonna make it soon, but it's the biggest in the game. Again, we did it again. Another one. It's called Another One. So we'll be dropping that bomb soon, but it's another bomb, palmy head top.
Another one.
So August 23rd to August 25th, get your tickets to Invest Fest, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be one of them ones. Disclaimer.
Well, before that, man, this Saturday, Chi-Town, we on the way. Shout out to our brother Ross Mack. He has his Wealth Summit. We will be in the building. Shout out to everybody in the Chi. I know every time we go there, there's so much love, so we're looking forward to it. And shout out to our brother Ross Mack. You want to talk about just stand up, solid dudes, and somebody that's super knowledgeable in the space. He is definitely that. And shout out to everybody that'll be attending. I know some of the family's going to be there with us, so we're looking forward to that.
And this weekend, tomorrow, we got a special episode of Earn Your Leisure. We have gentleman Mario Carbone. So if you listen to Drake when he said you couldn't get a reservation in Carbone, you gonna act like it's a chill night. So he's speaking about Carbone restaurant in Miami, New York, Las Vegas is actually rated the hardest restaurant in America to get a reservation to. I think the wait time is 24 months.
Good luck. It's called There Is No Reservation.
It's called No Reservation.
It's called the No Reservation.
So Mario Carbone is the owner of that, and
number 1 and 3. New York is the hardest one. Miami is number 3. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So
good luck.
So yeah, he's the conversation. He's the interview tomorrow, man. That's a legendary conversation within itself. So all right, and shout out to everybody that was at Essence.
Yes.
Over the weekend, New Orleans. Thank you for the love, Larry Morrow.
Legend.
Show love. Shout out to him, man. Make sure you eat at all his restaurants. He got the city on lock. City on smash, man. That's a good brother right there, man. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to everybody, Rich Lou Dennis, everybody that did their thing, man. So tap in.
And shout out to everybody that pulled up on us. Everybody showed mad love. They said they're super excited about Invest Fest. Some people, of course, showed portfolios, which is dope. And shout out to everybody that came to watch our panel. It was dope. So you know how this works, man. This is a disclaimer. Our content must be used and is intended to be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure, the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor himself, and Mr. High Level Conversation himself, 19 Keys. Shout out to y'all.
All right. So let's get into it. Ian Dunlap, what's up, my brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
The master investor himself.
We're gonna find a way, man.
Yo, man. They cannot stop us.
First and foremost, how you holding up, man? Everything good?
Can y'all text Stephen A and tell him to send me that power generator real quick? So when he broadcasts, I feel like Al Roker or something, but I'm good.
No, we gonna get through it, man. So we brought 19 keys, so it's we brought the heavy hitters in. So I know you are having some technical difficulties. So we're gonna help out. We're gonna help out today. That's what having a team is about, So all right. So let's get into this. Let's get into this convo. I want to talk about some stock stuff, but I got a question for Keys first. Keys, first and foremost, thank you for coming to Invest Fest every year. And this year, you're going to do it at the highest level possible with your guests, Billy Carson and Yaki Awaken. So we're going to talk about that later on. But when I first want to talk about is kind of following up what we talked about with Van Jones last week as far as artificial intelligence. And, he told us a few of the apps that he was actually using, and one of the apps that you had actually mentioned to us early, which was, what's the name of the app? Midjourney.
Yep.
So I know you've been on the artificial intelligence wave for a long time. So how are you seeing this in your vantage point right now? How are you currently using it, and like what are you seeing now that everybody's kind of caught up to the pace?
Yeah, I think it's in that phase now where people stop taking it as serious because they're getting used to it, hearing about it, being in their lives, right? Consuming it a little bit. But I think people forget that, the threat is a complete new infrastructure and a complete new world being built out by these systems, making things more cheaper, more efficient, giving people more access. And, my main message around it, is for us to use it to augment, our human intelligence, right? Make ourselves smarter, more efficient, decrease time, increase output when it comes to tasks, because it's the only way that we can keep up, And so when I'm looking at the tools that's being not built out right now, a lot of these tools that's being built out right now, a lot of hardware that's giving very niche use. There's a hardware that I use called Plead, and Plead essentially is something that I carry around that takes notes for me, right? So I press record, it'll take notes and it'll summarize in whichever way that I want it to be summarized, whether it's lecture notes, whether I wanted to turn it into a summary, or whether I wanted to be bulletin pointed, or I wanted to bring out the key concepts of what was spoken about. It'll basically take whatever meeting, anything that was said in my day, and then it will send me a report on it, so that I'm keep utilizing my mind for generating ideas and not capturing it, right? And that one has made me very efficient at being able to go back and look at ideas that were said or things that were talked about. And so I look at that as, having a personal assistant that's around you at all times, writing anything down for you, and then later on you can use. So I think that, in these simple uses, they're basically taking Claude and they're adding that in there, and they're taking ChatGPT and they're adding it into it, and they're creating these multi-million-dollar companies. And this has always been, some of the smarter uses of, you look at a gold rush saying that, all right, who go build the shovels, right? And who go figure out, who go create the jury business, right? The gold is here. Now the industry around it is being built. And we see that in multiple tools as well, not just this one. You have the Humane AI pen, which some people call it a flop, but as a hardware, it meant to solve the problem of over scrolling on your phone, and you have ChatGPT built into it, right? And I've been seeing a lot of these type of hardwares pop up. Some of the other ones that people I'm sure don't know about because they're fairly new is one called Fabric. And Fabric is essentially a masterful way to be able to source the best prompts, right? So basically what you would do is you would install it on your computer, and it's a fairly simple process, but it does take some steps in order to have it on your computer because it is in beta right now. But essentially the founder wanted to figure out a way that he can source all of the prompts that ChatGPT uses, that Claude uses, right? And he wanted to figure out what makes a really good prompt. So he found these patterns that allow you to get the best results out of these AIs. And he built the tool that basically allows you to install this software on your computer, and it sources right between ChatGPT, between Claude, and it finds the best patterns for you to be able to get the best prompts out. Now, this is very good because there's so much information all over right now, right? We have information overload. Today, the average person has the same amount of information as, access to information as a president in the 90s and early 2000s. Right. But with all of this information, how do you source it? How do you decide how to spend your time and make it more efficient? How do you know when to deep dive on something versus being able to just get notes so that you can focus on the things that you do want to get a deeper understanding of? And the rest is starting to become customized to understanding your workflow so you can spend less time on things that's unnecessary, which is the investigating which information, and more time on deeper understanding on the things that allow you to have this learning curve. And so Fabric is something that I'm just now beginning to use, but I think it's a very smart and efficient way that they've been able to come up with utilizing AI, because you're basically taking these existing systems, right, gathering these patterns of all of these best use cases, and you're saying that, okay, how do I get the most amount of my time back, right, while still getting the best output? And, for me, like scouring through videos, doing research and studying, there's some videos that I'm going to want to like deep dive and take deep notes on. And then other ones, I just need you to transcript it out and give me the most relevant information, but I need it to be built and understood based on my custom needs, right? So I got to put together a report, or I need to know what's going on in the market, or I need to have certain information and stats synthesized towards me, or I don't want to spend time watching a whole YouTube video. So I want the direct points that's correlated to what my needs are. And so I think that once these AI start finding these patterns and start studying you more and you start using them more, you get to become way more effective and efficient in your processes. And that is the smart ways to start using them, is looking at, okay, what do I do now, right? And what is the best way for me to get the best results? And so people ask me all the time, how do I use AI? And I'm like, what do you do now? And think about how you could be 10 times better at it, right? Every one of your processes. And so whether it's utilizing Fabric or something like Gamma, which is a presentation AI that allows you to take your data, instantly spit it into Gamma, and Gamma automatically produces a presentation for you that is at a very high level, that looks like you spent hours on doing it, right? So now you're ready for clients. Now you're ready for meetings. Now you're taking your notes, right? And you making sure that you can have this information ordered in detail for you instantaneous. So, and the last but not least is the big one, is Apple's intelligence, right? So you've been utilizing Apple Intelligence, the beta, and I ain't gonna say it's been game changing or anything of that nature, but what I do see is, now that they got a seat on OpenAI and they're going to go deeper into their relationship, you will see a lot of these softwares being natively built in on the Mac OS and on the iPhone. So a lot of these things that are businesses right now in software as service, SaaS, they're going to be automatically installed on your phone. So such as the notes that you have on your phone right now, they may be disorganized and all over the place. There's an AI called Notebook LLM that allows you to store your notes, and then you can search them, you can ask it questions, you can basically talk to your notes. But eventually that's going to be put directly into Apple, because as they further their relationship with, Open AI, they're just going to have everything inside this phone because they have billions and billions of users to be able to do so. So for me, some of the biggest opportunities is creating the SaaS, creating super niche AI, right? Becoming AI agents to where you're learning skill sets and expertise, right? And to become an expert, essentially, there's different degrees and levels of expert, but your goal is to be able to know more, right, than 90% of people, so you have a value to where you can teach them. And so I've been studying a lot of the AI agents, right, and doing consults with people and figuring out, okay, what is it that people really need? And for the most part, people want to figure out how to orient AI in their businesses, but it starts at a foundational level by explaining to them what AI is, doing deep consults with them and understanding their businesses, right? And then having a plan to implement AI. And that's a whole entire business and job. And there's not enough agents out there that can help people integrate AI in their businesses yet. There's people that's watching this right now that need AI integrated in their businesses, and they're doing a lot of manual tasks still that could be automated. And this process of automation is not a simplistic process where you just snap your fingers and it's done. It's deeply learning your business the same way you will put together your brand guides, the same way you will put together your human resource guides, same way you will look at what is your framework for your business, how does it work, and getting AI to understand that, and then building out these automated systems that make all your processes easier. And so there's just about an AI for everything at the moment, and they're only going to get better. So my suggestion with people is having everything written out in their business as far as the task that they need done, right? And then you begin the process of saying, how do I replace this task, or how do I make this task easier by utilizing some of these tools that's out there?
Keys, I mean, it's always great to have you on because these conversations are always forward thinking. Even when we talk about deep journey, even inside of the world of AI, I remember having these conversations with you first. The conversation is starting to shift a little bit as people becoming more aware with AI and it's going into the world of robotics. Like you just talked about large language models, machine learning, but robotics is kind of picking up steam around conversations. We saw what happened with Tesla. OpenAI has now created a humanoid that has come inside the BMW plant and is taking some jobs. How fast and how abruptly do you think humanoid or human robot, well, the humanoid robot will be implemented, and how, I shouldn't say afraid, but how aware should we be that this is the next evolution of it?
Well, Elon Musk wants that to be his next, $1 trillion business right now. And the thing about the humanoid robots is the technology is already here. I think the process of adaptation is getting people to a point of normalcy with them, right? Of course, knocking out all of the bugs and the tinkering issues that's going to come along with, adopting robots in these environments. But we're really looking at the next 2 to 3 years, right, for the rolling out of it and seeing how people respond, and then the regulations that's going to come along with it. I think one of the bigger things when it comes to the robot, when it comes to AI period, is looking at regulation and how it's going to hurt small businesses. Because the people that the government is calling on to do the regulations is going to be the open AI, is going to be the Microsoft, going to be these large companies that are building out these large language models and these large AI models. And they've already trained it on your data. They trained it on YouTube data. They trained it on all this data. And then they're going to regulate it so that the average engineer or coder can't then go do the same thing, so that they won't be able to compete. So as we go into robots, yes, the robots are going to come and take mundane task-oriented jobs, right? And quite frankly, in a lot of different situations, they should. I think humans need to augment themselves and get deeper into what it means to be human. But in some of these things, it's going to get dystopian because they don't really care about people. It's a profit-based system. They're going to be doing a lot of factory work, right? They're going to be doing a lot of low-paying job work. And, Donald Trump called it Black and Hispanic jobs. You know what I'm saying? The robots are going to be the ones coming taking those Black and Hispanic jobs. The AI is going to be the one coming taking those Black and Hispanic jobs. So you ain't got to worry about no immigrants or anything else. You feel me? The thing that you should be focused on is, how do you prepare yourself in a future where AI and robots and quantum computers exist? Because focusing on slowing it down is not going to change anything. Focusing on preparing for it, right? Developing the skills, thinking about the new businesses, the new services that will be needed in that future. Humans will always be needed, right? We don't even want a future to where it's a complete matrix and machines running everything. Humans will always be needed. I think that's the thing that we need to focus on. But yes, robots are here, right? And for me, thinking about the future is only preparing for it. It's not being scared of it. It's not having this fearful idea of it. None of that. We have to decolonize our minds of the future and ask ourselves, what do we want it to be? Because then we also determine the future by planning for it. So how would we use robots is the question, right? What value could they bring to us? And I'm not in a deep necessity for robots, because I think that the tasks that robots do are, very factory, and they're going to be super expensive. So the average person is not going to be using those type of robots. The average person is going to be using home robots. When I looked at the CES show and looking at the ones that they're rolling out, they're talking about simple tasks within the home that people are going to be using the robots for. People are going to be using companion robots, right, for loneliness that's happening with people today. And I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest use cases for the average person, because loneliness is on the rise. The average male out here is lonely. They ain't got nobody, right? And so, I see people becoming friends with robots and building companionship, and that being one of the biggest retail aspects of the robot industry.
That's a fact. We'll bring Ian up for a question, but while waiting for Ian, it's crazy you say that, because when we was in Davos, they had this guy who dropped out of Harvard, and he created an app for companionship, AI companionship, and he raised a bunch of money in his seed round, and that was the whole purpose of it. As far as being a companion, he kind of explained why AI companionship was needed, and it was so. Yeah, no matter how you feel about it, that's something that's real. But Ian, are you there?
They got an OnlyFans AI companion app already.
Yeah, I think it's called. I think it's called Soul. I wrote it down in my notes when I saw it. I said, "All right, I'm gonna remember this one." But it's spelled with an X, so XOUL. All right, Ian, it's on you, man.
Keys, my brother, how are you? I wish I could, my connection was a little bit better. Man, good to have you here. But I do think automation, of course, is needed. We talked about this before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And like you said, I don't think we need to fear. We need to find out a way to use it, because the truth is that these softwares and systems and hardware, they're going to be here regardless. And they are going to be the next sectors that really dominate the market. I don't know what OpenAI will be worth when it goes public, but it will easily enter that top 10, top 11. So we just have to find a way to be able to use it and integrate it, because they're going to make sure that that technology is here in our lives the same way that the iPhone came in 2007, 8, 9, and dominated our lives from there.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Let me ask a question for everybody, because I want to, while we got Ian on his battery before, if there's any power outage, his battery might not live. So I want to.
I'm on I Am Legend vibes right now. I'm good.
What you doing out here, Fred? I want to pose this question to the room, and then Troy, after I ask this question, maybe you could do the raffle. We don't forget about that.
Yep.
But so Boeing pled guilty to criminal fraud charges, stemming from 737 MAX crashes, and that the company, I think they had to pay.
They were ordered to pay $487 million in fines.
$487 million in fines, right? So should the company halt production until improvements are made? How do you feel about the stock? How do we feel about just in general when something like this happens? Like, this is literally like lives at stake, right? And actually somebody Remember we talked about this on Blackout, the guy that came forward, the whistleblower, who ended up killing himself mysteriously. So what's the take on this? Like I said, everybody can kind of just chime in on this conversation.
I'll be quick and thank God for picking this day for me to answer this question. My connection is not good. We have to take in consideration that Boeing is part consumer but part defense contractor. So although they should be shut down, I think the powers that be don't want them to be at this time. But I've been against the stock since we first started the show. I'm not a big fan of any companies that has an engine as a main, but also of reasons like this. There are a few other companies, maybe one day we'll talk about it on Blackout, but I'm not a fan of this company long term. This will go into my IBM and Intel category as uninvestable for me. But I think we need to have more conversations about how can, even though all the stuff that he did was nefarious, Boeing isn't getting half the coverage that Diddy got. And nobody died. So planes are falling out of the sky, and it's gotten so bad that even politicians are concerned about flying on Boeing aircrafts so that if they're taken out, it doesn't look like it was a mistake. I think he needs to go back into everyone who's listening, B613 and government. I don't want any issues, so leave me alone. This is AI, not me. But maybe he needs another congressional hearing and let me live. So you're the best. Okay?
The best part is that we can just say that this was your AI talking. We never saw you, so we'll use that. There's no way to prove it. I'm with you. I think the one of the most important things inside of business is trust. And if you look at what they were found guilty of, it wasn't because there were the parts were malfunctioning. It was because they committed fraud, right? The parts malfunctioned, and then they tried to cover it up. And so when you're talking about people's lives on a daily basis, from a stock standpoint, I just couldn't do it. But if you look at it, and I'm glad you brought up it's a defense contract as well. If you look how the stock performed today, even with this $500 million that they have to eventually pay out, it could be more. I think the families of the victims, and we're talking about maybe 3 to 4 crashes, they actually were suing for $25 billion. And so to have $500 million in fines it's a slap on the wrist. But if you look at the stock, it was up $1 today. Even with the fines and the lawsuits, and obviously people who have lost their lives traveling on their planes, the stock was still up $1 today. What does that tell you? When you have government contracts, when the government, and again, this is we don't want any problems with the government, obviously, but when the government is involved in making sure that your business stays afloat and they have the best interest is for the company to stay alive, you will see things like this happen. So Boeing isn't going anywhere. Is it a stock that I would invest in? I actually kind of grown into Ian's approach where, investing in things that have motors and engines, probably not the best thing, especially when there's so many other opportunities inside the space. So number one, don't trust it. Number two, wouldn't invest in it for that reason.
Boeing move around like Supreme Team in the 80s and 90s and nothing happens. Let us have driven around and got into an accident. We would have had litigation.
And then lied about it. About it.
Keith, anything you want to add to this?
I would say you look at Boeing, you look at Enron, WorldCom, Volkswagen emission scandal. I mean, if you want to go through all of the scandals that these companies have, they get away with murder. Once they start making billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, all of those companies get away with murder. The amount of scandals that they sweep under the rug, every single one of these companies, it gets to a point where they just become untouchable. And especially when you got military contracts, and it gets a gray area right there to where they are basically legally allowed to do illegal things, right? And so I think that it's the American way. And I think that, we act like there is the more high ground that exists in America, but when it comes to capitalism, there isn't one. When we look at, you talk about Johnson & Johnson, we look at big pharma companies, right, to aviation companies, anything that deals with, high levels of millions of dollars, government contract, billions of dollars, it's always going to be profit over people. Right? It's always going to be. And all they care about is their duty to deliver more profits to the shareholders. That's it, right? And so, I think that the same moral scale that we judge them by, which we really just breeze it off, right? It's the same moral scale that we have to judge all companies by. You know what I mean? Like Boeing has cases out right now about murder and fraud and all sort of other things that we probably would never hear about. But does that change the way that we really perceive the company? The average person, no, they really don't care. We only care about salacious scandals and gossip, right? That's low-hanging fruit and specifically our culture. But I look at those companies as all the same. I look at the same way y'all might judge a Diddy. I'm a judge of Boeing, right? Because we live and exist in America. And so really go find me a company who hands are clean. I don't think you can do it. I was just having a conversation, sit down with Robert F. Kennedy, and he claimed that, the government took out his pops and his uncle, right? And then our uncles as well, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So I think the only thing I get surprised about in this country is when we get surprised about the country and what happens in it.
There you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it. All right. Well, can we do a raffle? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, last week we did a raffle.
Yes.
For the Steve Harvey Invest Fest raffle, which includes so many great things that it was just amazing to be included all in one thing. $1,000 in cash, meet and greet with EYL and Steve Harvey, all expense paid trip to Invest Fest, hotel and flight, VIP ticket upgrade, tickets to Family Feud or Judge Steve Harvey show, 1 year membership to EYL University and Red Panda, access to our real estate and business creation courses. So now the moment has come. We're going to pick 5 winners
right in front of you
randomly. And let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. The time has come. The time has finally come. Shout out to everybody that has purchased a ticket for this year's Invest Fest. This is going to be the most impactful year. So again, congrats to everybody that purchased a ticket. So here's what's at stake tonight. We are announcing our 5 winners to our Steve Harvey Invest Fest raffle. Here's what comes with the win: $1,000 in cash, a meet and greet with us and Steve Harvey, all expenses paid trip to Invest Fest, which includes flight and hotel, VIP ticket upgrade, tickets to Family Feud or Judge Steve Harvey taping, a 1 year membership of EYL University and Red Panda, and access to real estate and business creation courses. This is a jam-packed contest. Again, shout out to everybody that entered. So we wanted to make it magical. We wanted to make it transparent. So we're going to do this live, y'all. So let's go to the list of names of people who have purchased. Whew, my gosh. Shout out again, all the thousands of you that have purchased tickets to the event. It is going to be absolutely incredible. Let's make this quick. Man.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Perfect. Let's get the names. Let's submit them.
Oh, they got the random names.
They are here.
Okay.
So we can see everybody. Yep. Got you all. There you go. Yep.
Make sure my cousin win.
All right. Let's start this thing. Here we go. How many people? We want 5 winners for this contest. We don't want any duplicates. And we're going to have a 5-second countdown. Let's get this thing going. I know people have been waiting all week to see if they've been upgraded. Well, here we go. Let's start. All right. Countdown is on, y'all. I hope you're excited. I hope you're waiting. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And our winners. Congrats to our winners: Jay Crawford, Darius Black, Tyree Farmer, LaKoya Bates, and Amina Harvey. You've been selected as our winners for this year's raffle. Again, congrats to you. The InvestFest team will be in contact with you momentarily. And we look forward to meeting and greeting you at this year's event. And shout out to everybody that entered. We look forward to seeing and meeting all of you at this year's InvestFest 2024, which is going to be the most impactful year yet. All right. So congrats. And let's get back to the show.
Amina Harvey.
My name in the raffle.
That's your cousin?
Any relation to Steve Harvey?
Anybody who paid me $10,000 to win a raffle, I'm sorry.
I want to pull up the Family Feud. I ain't get none of these offers. Damn.
Oh, it's in the speaker package. You gotta read it. It's in the speaker package.
Oh man!
Congrats to the winners, y'all.
Congratulations to the winners.
Absolutely,
We
absolutely.
get a letter.
Okay. All right, let's stay on this technology wave. I want to get everybody's opinion on this as well, because this is a tech question. As far as Elon Musk, Tesla stock went crazy last week, and Dan Ives says that Tesla is the most undervalued AI play in the market. Is this really just the beginning for what's going to be a massive stage growth for Musk and Tesla, or is it a pump fake and we're going to see Tesla fizzle back out again?
I don't think it's going to be the most ambitious AI move that we have. Whatever keys needed that lighted for, Dan Ives definitely used it when he had this quote. But I think we all know Claude, OpenAI, ChatGPT is going to be the lead. But I think this is a good lesson. I was talking to Red Panda about this yesterday, is that you can only make up to 100% short in a stock, not an option. But there's almost unlimited upside. Like Nvidia over the last 10 years is up damn near 20,000%. So it got to such a low price where it was almost impossible not to buy. And with the talk of the automation and autonomous taxis, and Elon is a great salesman on selling the brand, it was at a too attractive of a price. Now, do I think it will lead the AI wave in the future, and will the valuation of it be 30 trillion or whatever? He said no, but I do think that they are still solid, a solid company. I still like them at 140. If they get to 130 at some point, I would love to buy it there. I don't think they'll be the leader, but I think they are one of the most important companies. And if Elon gets focused, as we've talked about here for the last 3 or 4 months, I think there could be tremendous upside. But I don't think that they'll definitely. I don't think they'll ever lead the AI race or wave.
Yeah, I don't think they lead, but they're in a position to be a part of the conversation. I'll say that. And for anyone who's never heard of Dan Ives or has no idea if you've ever read some of his reports, he's super optimistic, especially when it comes to tech. And so his report didn't surprise me. But it's kind of been what we've been saying for the past month. When it comes to Elon, is it a CEO you can believe in? Has he done it before? Yes. Will he do it again? I mean, if his track record shows anything, it shows that he when it comes to technology and it comes to innovation for the future, he's led the way. So his company will be a part of it. The robotics, kind of what Keys alluded to, obviously the taxis, we're going to start seeing the numbers coming back from a production side. Like we said, they hit a point where it was, is this the floor? Is this the floor? And it kind of felt that way. Kind of why, we got into some Tesla positions in February, was for this reason right here. It had hit its rock bottom at that standpoint, and so there was only upside from it. So love Tesla long term, still invested in the shares, obviously has some calls, and those have turned around pretty nicely over the past 3 weeks. And it kind of, sometimes the wind is kind of baked in, and sometimes the downfall is baked in. And so when we look at even like a Boeing, for example, that was a perfect example where it went up $1. If you look at it since 2019, where it was peaking around 371, there's after report after report, the default, the crashes, this loss has kind of been baked in a little bit, which is why it wasn't surprising, right? They might have anticipated a $25 billion loss from the lawsuit, but to hear that it was going to be 500 million, a grave difference. And so sometimes the losses are baked in. I feel like that's what's kind of happened with Tesla over the past 6 to 8 months. And so I see some upside ahead.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There you have it.
Stop letting that boy throw them office parties, and that stock went up. Good job.
Stock definitely went up. Stock was up at a peak of last week, up 31%. So shout out to everybody that's in Tesla.
So okay. Well, before we move on, shout out to the brother that I met at Dykeman last week that was on the phone listening to Market Mondays. I told you I was gonna give you a ticket. Can you DM me, please? I lost your information. I think you gave me a business card, but I can't find your information. So I need your email. So just DM me personally, my personal Instagram page, and send me your email so I can get you your complimentary InvestFest ticket. But speaking of InvestFest, I want to ask Keith this question because he has the distinguished honor of having the highest rated episode in Earn Your Leisure platform history. Billy Carson, I think, is at 8 million.
He's gonna correct you.
How many?
Yeah, it's almost up to 10 million, but
I was trying to save him, Keith. I know you're gonna tell
Who's counting these things, right, Keith?
9.2 million with Billy, and then Yaki Awaken is number 3 with almost 3.9 million, and then you got another one with Billy with 2.4 million, and then I think you have another one with Billy Carson as well. We've done a few with Billy Carson. So, all right, Billy Carson, Yaki Awaken. This is an interesting conversation to have at InvestFest. What can we expect from this live, high-level conversation that will take place?
What I can say.
Let's lead with that.
Everything can't be divulged, but what I can say is expect the unexpected, right? I think that when I look at the landscape of culture right now, I get quite frankly disappointed. And because when I think about the past, we had so many things that we don't have now. We had black unions and black caucuses to where we would sit and we would have conversations with leaders about our future and focus on solving our problems our way and at least having our expressive opinions at the table, right? And that was the thought leadership of our society, of our culture that we would take. And so, being able to have a roundtable discussion, because it's not a panel, it's a roundtable, right? We think about they have a project 2025, but what is our project 2025? What is our project 2044, right? What is our project 2053? And so because I'm somebody who focuses on decolonizing the future, which is this concept that the more that we feed into their ideas about the future, the more colonized we are in our mind, and all we do is evolve on the concepts and ideas and give birth to them. But when we decolonize the future, we're basically saying that we are deciding what the future is for ourselves. And yes, it does start with conversation, right? Because when you go look at the founding fathers of this country, these were men that were in their late 20s to early 30s that were able to sit down and they were able to plan that essentially documentation, plans, rules, and orders for the next 400 to 500 years. And so I think what it takes is a group of people that can mastermind and bring intellect together for the explicit purpose of planning the future and then giving orders out so that the people that are listening go in and execute. But we don't have collective visions and collective ideas. And so bringing together a brain trust of people who have platform, right, who focus on intellect, who focus on solving problems, who are outside the bounds of what I call safe America, right? I didn't want to go with safe America. I wanted to go with disruptors. I wanted to go with people that you're going to question, because this is how you're going to get things different, right? The radical creatives. And so the conversation that we're going to have is going to be very, very visionary, very solution based, right? And I think that people are going to be able to take orders from this and have marching orders on what to do next. But also, there's going to be some surprises about, what are the plans for the future? Because the idea becomes what does a high level culture look like? What does a high level world look like? And if we can get that deeply embedded into the mind and we start investing into that, just within the next 365 days, we can change things so radically, right, that the world doesn't even look the same whatsoever. And I think that we have to really get on radical change. Like, what can we do in between the next, few cycles that will change everything? And I really get deep into good influence, right? My focus right now is creating this good influence program where we take influence and we look at it as an economy and we really focus on what we influence and to scale things. But I say good influence because there's so many influencers, but there's a lot of bad influence, right? Good influence is good leadership, right? That has positive impact on our culture. So identifying those issues, problems, and areas to where we can have positive impact is what I want to be able to lay down the blueprint for the people coming up at InvestFest. And it's going to be very powerful. It's going to be stimulating, and it's going to be a moment that becomes a movement.
There you have it. Wowzer.
Will he be bringing the Anunnaki and the Emerald tablets?
Well, the one thing about, and I got a high level coming with Dr. Wesley about the Anunnaki, and that's going to shake up some things. But the thing I like about Billy Carson, it's not about the aliens, it's not about the Anunnaki, it's about his study of civilizations that have failed, civilizations that have been birthed. And so we think about that is, how do you birth a better civilization, right? How do you birth a better culture? What were the things to look out for? What are the things that are the patterns of success? And so I really want to get deeper into that knowledge, right? When we think about the Anunnaki, these were real civilizations, right? These were real things that took place in history. But because we're giving just a populist thread of history that, we learn in school, we look at these as like this extra crazy, spooky thing. But this is real artifacts, real history, right? The only difference is the understanding of that history, the translation, but more importantly, what caused them to fail? What caused the different civilizations in time to fail? What caused them to succeed? How did they build their own language? What were their paths to creating their culture that got to this high level to where we're having conversation about it today? And I think those are the things that we need to reinstall, right, within the culture now, because there are very much missing. We have a lot of entertainment, a lot of arts, but Marcus Garvey, he come up with the STEAM program, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But we took out the STEM and all we got is the arts, right? But who is the most popular scientist? Who's the most popular technologist? Who is the most popular engineer? Who is who is making the most strides and changes in the fields of mathematics that look like us? And so I think that there's not a real representation of culture. There's just a representation of populist agenda, industry, arts, and entertainment, and we call that culture.
There you have it.
STEM to STEAM.
There you have it.
STEM STEAM. Keith, I just want to follow, because you're thinking from an educational standpoint with the power of machine learning, and I think they said that chat 5.0 will be at a PhD level of education. What does that look like to the future, I guess, of our community, but all communities, from a standpoint of having that knowledge gap decrease in such an expedited time?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We look at the chat GPT 5.0 and any other models that's going to come, because what we're really going to see is this customization of these models learning you and your processes, right? And my formula for AI is AI plus NI equals EI. Artificial intelligence plus natural intelligence equals enhanced intelligence. So what it gives us as a potential, right, is the opportunity for us to be able to enhance our intelligence. If we look at it as a wealth transfer, we're basically saying that, all things that we couldn't afford at first, we now have access to, right? My chief thesis as things that were only available for the rich as luxuries, right? You think about a billionaire having an assistant that can go source information from them, give them data reports, right? Even large companies being able to take, reports from other data analytic companies and make decisions based on that. We can do that now, right? Being able to have a team of specialists in their field as experts in writing, experts in research, experts in design, right? Whatever it may be, you have that now as a subscription. So then the question becomes what is our will, right? What do we actually have in vision? Because if you got ChatGPT 5 or it could be ChatGPT 18, it doesn't matter if you don't have a vision for something, if you don't have a goal yourself. So for me, the mentality standpoint starts at, okay, if we look at the 1960s and 70s, right? And we look at the civil rights movement, they had a lot of demand for the culture, but they didn't have the resources. They had this demand for things that they wanted to change, right? And even had an outline vision. Today, we have all the resources, but none of the demands. meaning that what are we going to do with the technology now that we have the resources? And this is why we focus on the willfulness. And everybody is not an entrepreneur. Everybody is not a visionary. And this is where we get to customize the roles that we play in society. Some people are guides. Some people execute. Some people are visionaries. Some people are just stewards of the dream. And I think that on an important level, as we are going through a mental health crisis in America, Black men specifically, I know I can name off the top of my head like almost 6 to 7 Black men that are going through mental and spiritual crisis in their life right now. And so I declared a state of emergency. So another way I'm looking at is how does it help us, right, in the medical fields? How does it help us in the mental health fields? And I think that there's so many opportunities for us to be able to, create programs that allow us to become self-aware, to understand these metrics of stress determiners, understand, how we're supposed to operate on purpose. Most people don't know their human design type, right? Most people don't know their intelligence type, their personality type. So they're not operating on a customized knowledge of self grid to say, okay, this is how I should be doing this. This is why I'm doing this. People go to therapists or talk therapy to learn more about who you are. And there's so many people right now that are stuck in roles that don't fit their soul. It don't fit their spirit. And so even when they succeed, they still find themselves depressed, right? And my goal is to utilize AI in a manner that helps people become more self-aware. I've been talking with a brother in Australia that has a program that helps people understand themselves the more they use it, because there's this physiological and psychological connection, between how the body responds and why you get this stress built up based on your psychological profile and who you are. And I think that that's where we need to focus at, because if we're not mentally healthy, we're not ever going to become wealthy. The biggest issue that we have in the Black community is the family dynamic. And so we can't get to family unless we get mentally right first, because ain't no women gonna want no crazy men, and ain't no men gonna want no crazy women. So if we can get our minds right, and then we get our values right, and we're utilizing AI to be able to, create self-test and be able to customize ways to where we can, have therapy regimens, and it can automatically guide us to lowering baselines of issues and problems that we have, and even possibly self-diagnosis ourselves in many different ways, we can get to a point to where we're clear enough to deal with each other. And I think that in the wealth equation, the mental health and the spiritual health of the people is missing. So this is why you can give people the right information, you can give them the right technology, but they're in front of themselves, right? The shadow work that they need to do, the spiritual work. But deeper than that, do you even understand who you are? So I think that this is something that the rich are able to do. They're able to get somebody that can tell them about themselves so that they can get back to peak performance, right? So that they can get to a center of alignment. So, my goal is focusing on how do you live at your 100%, right? So as I'm utilizing AI, I might create GPTs that I program with information on me so that it's customized and personalizing this information, tailoring it to my needs, right? And so now I get to know myself deeper. Why do I think this way, right? And so as I've been going through this, it puts me in a master seat, right? So now I'm not doing things that go against, my energy. I'm doing things that are aligned with who I am. And, as we create these more systems and creating more GPTs, and we personalize them and reprogram them, it's going to be easier for parents to homeschool and educate their children and create curriculums, because what was the hardest thing at first? A parent's not a teacher. They don't know all those things, but now a parent can sit down and they can get the answers. Mm-hmm. They can create a GPT, that forces the parent to go through a learning curve to be able to teach their child based on the goals that they have for their child. Because a lot of people think because they get pregnant and they become a parent that they're going to be a good one. And that's just not true. And we need to start having standards for that, right? And I think that now that we have the technology, we need to use it in a way to increase our standards that we have for our mental and our spiritual health, which ultimately leads to our wealth. So I would say utilize the AI as much as you can to personalize self-education, increase that learning curve so that you become smarter and more efficient in the way that you go about doing things.
Ian, let me ask you a question. Bitcoin, speaking of crypto, is
At that 55K.
Yeah, so it's almost 20,000
Price we call.
It 73 is as high. So what's the low to boat price for Bitcoin?
Due to technological circumstances and the hurricane, come back next week. Cliffhanger keys. I'm learning some of your media tricks. Come back next week and I'll be able to give you guys a price for a low to boat price. But I do think for sure Bitcoin, and I say this all the time, that everyone's a competition. The battle is going to be between NVIDIA, OpenAI when they become public, and Bitcoin for who can give the greatest returns. Remember 2 years ago when everyone was saying it was to offset NASDAQ, it was to offset inflation, but every asset is really a race about who can give you the highest returns. And at one point, Bitcoin was doing that. And NVIDIA has surpassed them for the highest return over the last 10 years. So these next 4 or 5 years would be very interesting to see who takes that number one spot. But next week, I'll give that price for everyone. But a couple weeks ago, I did tell you guys it's going to come down to 55,000. So now would be a good time for you to get in if you have not yet.
And this feels like if you're in the cryptocurrency space, this doesn't feel something like that's out of the ordinary. That's why most people aren't even like really budging at all. Right? We've seen greater downturns inside the space, and so just giving context around it, which was interesting, right? When people looked at why did it fall back, one of the things I found interesting, and Ian, I'm sure you probably saw it as well, is that there was a sell-off from the German government. $2 billion in Bitcoin was sold off, and then there's some settlements from the amount, and that made me think of you as well, my brother. The amount Gox, the creditors.
Hand me my coins, my boys.
the settlement, they're starting to pay out some of the people who lost money, and part of that huge conspiracy and huge loss inside the space. And so a downturn, feels kind of normal at this point. We saw it right up to its highs after its halving, 73,000 out of 55. There might be still some more pullback, but like you said, if this is something that you believe in,
this is nothing. No,
this isn't really too much news. At 55,000, it gets down to 25. Then we gotta have some real conversations. But yeah, I feel like this pullback is something that's normal, even inside of the world of investing.
So
absolutely, and especially with not having any interest rate cuts either.
Yeah.
As Keys lights his sage.
It's that Palo Santo. If you know.
I thought that the ayahuasca was coming out next.
You gotta keep the spirits.
Hey, when y'all ready to do that retreat, I'm with it.
You gotta keep the good energy. You gotta keep the.
You gotta constantly reset it.
Reset the room. Reset the room.
What's that called? Palo Salamanca? What's that? Tell me.
Hold on. Now, hey, listen, man. You've been with a lot of Mesoamerican women. I know you know about that Palo Santo.
Allegedly.
I know you traveled on that side of the world.
Say that for Wednesday, Keys.
Well played, my boy. Well played.
I'm a history buff,
Oh,
me
man.
too.
Oh man, there you have it.
Oh, might clip this up. Oh my god.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, eventful conversation. A little shorter than our usual episodes of Market Monday.
Let me ask y'all a question before you get out of here. I had just put out some content about everybody starting a podcast. Now, I think I seen a clip of you all talking about it being an influencer recession. So, I believe that everybody should have a podcast, whether it's short or long form, because, it places you in the thought leader and expert seat to house content for your community and or business, which I think is necessary in this landscape, building a personal brand. But I want to know your thoughts on, do you really believe it is an influencer recession and or not?
It's definitely an influencer recession. We talked about that on Blackout a few weeks ago. You could just look at it from Comics, struggling to make ends meet. You see them doing different things that a little weird. They're not really. Nah, shout out to all of the comics out there though. Salute.
You mean like product placement type stuff?
Salute. Salute.
Yo, nah, that's crazy.
A lot of people in the financial literacy space, you don't see them anymore. I haven't. 90% of the people that was in the financial literacy space during the pandemic haven't even posted in months or weeks, or they just completely are doing something different. I think even, in the OnlyFans, I don't know if the OnlyFans girls are making money like they used to. So yeah, I think that there's an influence of recession, but in any recession, there's still some people that are still, thriving. And usually a recession is only for a short period of time, and there'll be another bull market. So there'll probably be another bull market at some point in time. But right now, I think it's down. As far as your question, for everybody should start a podcast, I don't necessarily agree with that. I get the concept, and it is a great way to engage with your community, but I don't think everybody's passionate about it. Mm-hmm. It is a lot of work. It is something that, takes time. Contrary to, and you understand that, right? Like you have a show, like you put a lot of energy into that. So contrary to belief, it's not easy. It's not just just pick up a microphone and just start talking. Like if you can do that, but that's not going to be successful. If you want to have a successful show, you got to actually put time into it, research, know your topics, edit, pay money, stuff like that. So everybody's not for that. I think everybody should have an Instagram page for sure. Everybody should have social media. But I don't think everybody is cut out to actually have long form content in what they call the podcast space.
Yeah, this is a conversation that we've had amongst each other. But I think I actually had this conversation 2 days ago. Everybody has a voice. Everybody can use their voice. But I think the why is the most important thing, right? And especially when we saw this bull market inside of the podcasting space, you saw everybody doing it. Then you saw celebrities getting on board because they thought, all right, this is an opportunity to make money. Well, even from an advertising standpoint, and we've seen and spoke to multiple corporations, there's been a pullback in the spend, right? People are cutting their budgets when it comes to spend. That brings down the amount of people who are now looking at it as a place of monetary value. And so inside the podcast space, you don't see celebrities doing it anymore because the value is not there. But what were they bringing to the space in the first place? They just looked at it as a money opportunity. So yeah, people should have a voice, but they should also know the value that they're trying to add before starting that, right? Because if you're doing it for money, you won't be doing it very long, right? If you're doing it because there's a passion, there's a reason why you want to talk, there are people that are following your message, yeah, then you'll do it regardless if you're getting paid or not. But inside of that, create multiple different ways to generate income. I think that, the people who are successful, and especially the people that we know inside the space, have done exactly that. They're not relying on just one avenue of the podcast to make their revenue. They've created a system. They've created an ecosystem around it. So make sure you know what the value is. And yeah, definitely for the first part, is there a recession? Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. When you walk around, you don't see the same people you used to see in some of the rooms that you are. Some of the rooms that used to exist don't exist anymore. But the cream will rise to the top, and the people who add the most value will be relevant and stay focused inside of the space.
Yeah, I think I look at it as there's a consolidation that happens in it. And then there's cycles, right? Yes, there's always that cycle of excitement that many people get involved, right? And they start to do something. And then the consolidating standpoint are the people that are actually good at it, people that can actually perform and that actually have real influence. When I think about, podcasting, I think about it from a personal branding standpoint. And then I think about all of the skill sets that you can gather along. Right. If you're looking at it specifically from a pure profit standpoint, then no, everybody is not going to be able to create a profitable of 6 to 7 figure podcast. Right. There are some voices that can and that will for sure. But if you have a business, right, 9 out of 10, right, I believe that you should have a space where that business has a voice. Right. Number one, as you are creating content around your product, becoming a thought leader in that space, right? Like I had to shoot some content about cordyceps the other day because there was this new study that came out about human trials being done on cordyceps where it increases performance and it decreases the amount of recovery time. And as I was sitting together preparing that, I'm learning more about my own product and I'm learning how to sell it and how to explain it better to people. Right. And then you become a voice of authority when people that are just searching the internet are looking up cordyceps and mushrooms and looking for supplements for themselves to take. And then they learn about it through you. And then that becomes a funnel to your product. Right. So if anything, podcast creates a content funnel that can go to your product, your service, right? You as a speaker, whatever it may be. And so it helps people hone in their voice. It helps people learn how to tell their story. Right. And whether you're putting out the whole long form or whether you're doing something short form or not, you're able to use those clips on your Instagram, right? On your TikTok or wherever they may be. And then you start to master that as you go along the process. But I think the process of producing a podcast itself becomes a content funnel for you to be able to use it in all these areas, right, that become beneficial to you and your business. And when I say everybody, of course, I don't really mean everybody. I really mean entrepreneurs, people that are serious about it, people that want to build personal brands. The personal branding space is continuing to grow and it's going to grow billions over the next few years. The way that they're dividing the pie, especially these advertisers, is not the same way they used to do it at first, where they might give one person one big chunk. Right now, they're trying to go through authentic audiences that often look like smaller audiences because they're trying to get that user-generated content and they're trying to create a higher depth of relationship with the customer through smaller influencers. So we're talking about 2,500, 5,000, maybe 10,000 followers. Right? Because they're going to get a greater return on that relationship that smaller influencer has. Now, I think that most people that teach podcasts don't know what they're talking about, don't know how to create a good show to save their life. Right. So if you want to focus on your show itself being a generator and what you're directly monetizing, that's a whole nother level of expertise. But if you have a company that has a product, right, the point of media is for advertisement. I don't see why not at least create a show, right, around your product or conversations around it that you can then take that short form content, because now we have AI that can chop these things up. So it's not as hard as it used to be. And I think when most people think about it, they think about the consumption of time and energy and expertise that's needed. But when you're talking about having Opus Clips and Taja AI and all the access to new AIs, it's actually as easy as posting, right? It's really just consuming time and you getting a little creative and you using, what's the AI that we use to create the thumbnails all the time? Canva, right? You're using something like Canva. You can create a full deck brand doing that. And I think that most people have given up before utilizing the best tools on the market. And so the only problem that happens is everything starts to look the same. People start to lose creativity. But I think personal branding, community branding, founder vlogging, right? Those are where content is going towards the future, right? Greater authenticity, transparency, right? Being able to tell your story, getting into the minds of the people. That to me is a key going forward as people think about it. Like your personal brand is not about what you do. In my framework, it's about who you are. And so that's one of the things I've been helping people focus on. How do you scale that personal brand that turns into a community brand, right? And then how do you service that community by building a world around it, right? And so I think that people are looking to find their tribes right now. I think people are looking for shows that fit their personality and fit their schedule because we got access to all these information and shows all throughout the world. But how do we get it to where these are my preferences? So high level conversation is the preference of the smart person in the world. It's the preference of somebody that wants to think differently, think outside the box. They get tired of the same content that is actually get funded right now, right? They're still putting budget to BS. And the advertisers are not getting their dollars worth because they don't have enough information on the changes of interest that people are into now. So people watching high level conversations, and it's a reason why me and Billy Carson and Yaki and Blue Pill and whoever else I sit down with, and we have a high level intellectual conversation that stimulates the interests that are underserved in society because they act like people only want the same mundane, popular entertainment. So I think that people need to heavily niche down. So it's less competition when you niche, and you still should be creating content and podcasts, but you should be doing it so it's a funnel to your personal brand or product. And if you want our assistance, that's what we do in the High Level Club.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
The highest level
possible. 19 keys. I appreciate you, man, for stepping in. Ian, I believe he got disconnected. He might have lost his battery. So like I said, prayers to everybody in Houston. They're going through a major issue right now with the hurricane.
Shout out Pop Darby in Houston, my brother D God.
They said over
Sauce Walker. Just start shouting out my Houston brothers.
So
so salute to Houston. And don't forget, 19 Keys will be in the building for a special roundtable, not a panel, roundtable discussion at InvestFest with Yaki Awaken and Billy Carson. That will happen.
Listen, hey, InvestFest gonna be something different. I just want to let y'all know this year. You know what I'm saying? I play every year like it's the last year, so it got to be the best.
It's the only way to play.
I know my good brother Rashad is not doing drip reports, and I'm glad he, don't
do that.
Relinquish that responsibility.
Don't do that. No, you don't do that. Listen.
Because
bro.
I'm still.
No. The last time we checked, the scoreboard reads.
Let's not go to scoreboard. Let's not do that. I'm champion. But now we got that out the way. Everything will be immaculate this year. The booth is going to be immaculate. The drip is going to be immaculate. The brand, the speakers, the presentation. You're going to be stepping into the future. And I want everybody to step their game up. When I say step your game up, I mean like the design, the aesthetics, the cleanliness, the thoughtfulness, the intentfulness. As you step into that door, have a plan on how you're going to connect and network with people, right? Get creative in a way that you're going to vlog your travels and your trips. You're spending time and you're investing. And it's something that's beautiful that comes particularly once a year, but be super intentional, right? You have Black Friday that come and entrepreneurs will spend the whole year getting ready for Black Friday because they know the opportunities that come along with their business. I want to make sure that you at your optimum level when you functioning, you smelling good, you looking good, but let's make InvestFest count. It's not enough of these type of events that happen in the culture, right? So when you have an event like this, these are the times where you're not just waiting to see what myself is doing or Rashad or any other presenters. What are you bringing to the table at InvestFest? Because it is a people's movement. Right? It's about you investing your time, your energy, producing assets, generating network so that this can stimulate you, right, for the rest of your life and or at least until the next cycle that we see you again. So I just want InvestFest to be taken serious because I believe that this is one of the most beautiful movements that happen in culture where we get together and we think about our future. That's not happening at most times. We're thinking about distracting ourselves from our past or present circumstances. But when we come to InvestFest, we thinking about how we make a better future. And that's up to the people. There may be celebrities in there. It may be all these beautiful big names, 50 Cent on the stage, many men and all of that. But these brothers got money already. They got wealth plans already. When I think about the future and people saying, man, I was there and my family put together trust and we put together plans and we got more discipline about our lives and we stepped up our businesses and we start studying different things and this is how we've implemented it and this is how we've grown. This should be a documentary to where you're saying that this is the growth from this year, from last year, and we just keep on growing and we have an exponential growth. I just want people to take it that serious where you're documenting the future of wealth. You're breaking a curse and you're building wealth, right? Because we all starting as first generational curse breakers for the most part. So that's all I want to say about InvestFest. Make sure you show up and be at your 100%.
There you have it.
Well, sir.
Truer words have not been spoken. I'm wearing a suit this year, by the way.
Wise words.
With the profession now.
I'm coming with the suit.
Yes, sir.
Sneak peek.
Wise words from a decent man.
Yeah, with a bow tie. I got you. I'm gonna bring you a red bow tie. Brother Rashad, showing up.
You. I appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure. Watch high level conversations, earn your leisure across all audio platforms. Tap in with the High Level Club and everything that Keys got going on. He got a pop-up shop in California. Where's the pop-up shop at?
Right now, the pop-up shop is on Melrose. in Los Angeles, the good side of Melrose. So this is a limited time that you all can come. It's at 8446 Melrose. Y'all pull up, get crowned. We do consultations, shooting. We had a sound bath with a cacao ritual ceremony the other day. And then after this one, we actually gonna be looking for some other commercial retail opportunities to do another pop-up because I really love having a space. Right. So I'm looking to partner and build with brands and people that's out there. Specifically, I'm looking for design students. If you're a design student from fashion design, architecture, whatever it is, I'm looking for people to partner and put your skills to use, and we can help scale that inside the operation. So tap in, just a plug. You can go to 19keys at 19keys.com. Email us there with your resume.
Always a pleasure, my brother.
All right, my brother, it's been real.
Yes, sir. Peace to the gods.
We made it through a whole episode without you saying West Coast, so I'll say West Coast for you.
Yeah, they not like us. You already know. Shout out to Kendrick, man. Salute.
All right, y'all. It's been real. Tap in. We got Mario Carbone tomorrow, and we got DC Young Fly on Wednesday with Blackout, man. Yes. So tap in. We'll see you guys at InvestFest. Get your tickets.
Please.
We got a big announcement, and when we make that big announcement, everything will change again.
Yeah.
So get your tickets before the big announcement, because once the big announcement comes, it's going to be an issue to get the tickets.
And real quick, in terms of the investment world, big week. We got CPI. The Fed chair is going to be talking this week. And then everybody that has Broadcom, the split will happen this Friday, 10-1. So make sure that y'all are aware of it. And yeah, man, we'll see y'all next week. Tap in. Everybody in Houston, prayers. Everybody that's been affected, prayers. Y'all know how this do, man. Go reach out to somebody in need. Tap in with somebody. Share your thoughts, share a text, man. Let them know you're thinking of them. Love is love. Peace.